So we can open it up, no specific order right now, whoever's comfortable going.
Um, um, yeah, I could start if that's okay. Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, I think first and foremost, thanks for inviting me here because it's such a meaningful topic of discussion and extremely close to my heart. So much needed. We need a lot more conversation around mental health. In terms of what, your first question, in terms of what I personally feel really proud of as Sequin, as an organization, as well as the larger community, which is part of Sequin. I kind of jotted down a few points which kind of comes to my mind. First and foremost, one thing that we're really proud of is our resilience. The way we have weathered the storm. This last year has been such a challenging year. And each and every member of our Sequin community has displayed resilience, has stuck it out. I think that's a huge achievement because it's been a really difficult time. The second thing that I'm really proud of as an organization is how everyone's been very, very open to adapt, to learn, and to kind of acquire new skills, to be able to undertake tasks like, for example, our team members who had never really used technology before. It's been phenomenal how they have been open to adopting technologies and felt so empowered, about it in the course of this last year's journey. So that's been a huge achievement, which I'm really proud of. As they say that never kind of waste a good crisis. This year has really been, a time where we've utilized this entire unprecedented time to do a lot of things which we kept thinking we would do. But you're always so overwhelmed and busy with your other tasks that you keep postponing. So, like just a couple of things that comes to mind, is one is that we had for a long time wanted to do this study, an impact evaluation study of our football program. And we kept postponing that because projects used to preoccupy us. So during the COVID time, everyone got together and decided to do that study, which is huge because as an organization, we spent those months in lockdown to actually put together that data and research, and other things like creating our module, collating learnings, etc. So we use this time very effectively. The team spirit, mutual learning has emerged in a very strong way. And one last point that I wanted to add is it's been a real discovery about how much people can contribute, and people who you thought will not be able to contribute, how much they've added to the journey. Because one huge part of our journey has been a large number of students from university who've joined this movement. We've had about 70 students from university who've interned and volunteered with us through the year because they probably had that free time because of lockdown situations, and they had so much to contribute to the journey. So for us as an organization, it was a learning about how different kinds of people can contribute, and add. Even if you don't have the money, the resources are so many because people can volunteer with their time. So that's been a great learning for us. Thanks.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Laura. And it'll be great to go into some of these details in some of the coming points. And Gulafsha and Praveen, just to share the question once more. So you as a learner and leader in the sport development space, what change are you most proud of creating, and why is that? So PK and Gulafsha, on to you.
Thanks,
Everyone.
Shayona, for having me here. You want to start, PK, or should I
That's
go?
fine. Yes, you can go ahead.
Yeah, thank you very much. So, one thing I'm very proud of as a leader is by starting a football program for the girls who cannot even think of playing sports, and today they're dreaming about becoming a sports player. Like we work in the community as Dreaming as Slum, we work in a community where slum girls don't get an opportunity to play sports or to choose sports, but we have started a football program for them. So now they are thinking about not only them, but their family also thinking that girls can go and play sports. So earlier it was like the parents were thinking the girls can only get married at certain age and no education, nothing. But today they are thinking sports is also as a career and they can do something in sports also. So this is the one thing I'm very proud of, to bring a small change in the community. Yeah. And about mental well-being, we as an organization, we have, like, from our part, we have done a little bit by giving a grocery kit to 100 families, including the workers also who were stuck here due to corona, due to lockdown. So we have tried to help them also. So it's kind of like a relief for them during lockdown because their jobs were not there, but we were able to help them with the grocery packets. So I think that's a really good thing.
Yeah, and Gulafsha, it'd be nice to hear. I mean, the word relief, and the way, the different ways you think about the word relief right now. It'd be great to hear about this a bit more later. And I think, Laura, the point you brought up about 70 youths having the opportunity to learn through Sequin, maybe straight out of college and college. Itself is a great opportunity. And Gulafsha, to your point, an opportunity of just a girl having the opportunity to play. Is just as special and important right now. And we'll be connecting the dots. And also, Galasha, Laura, and Raveen, if any questions come up amongst each other, please do feel free to ask. And PK, on to you.
Both for girls for having me. Yes, for one thing which I'm very proud of is on the similar lines what Gulafsha mentioned, that Foot and Board was able to provide an opportunity to kids to experience the sport of football, and these children who spent majority of their time on streets and were not supervised by adults. So they were into all kinds of things, and then wanting to come back to another training session and another, uh, just because the kind of experience they had in the first K while playing the sport, so they want to maintain that pleasantness for as long as possible. So just to see the smiles and the way they enjoy themselves on the field, this is one thing which makes me proud.
Thanks, PK. And nice to see you smiling over there. So, again, being in the sport for development space and, leading sport for development organizations, what would you say the pandemic has taught you most about mental well-being? And has this changed the way or influenced the way that you see or are looking at mental well-being within your organization?
So I just, wanted to come in over there to say that, even before the pandemic, mental health was something which was a major concern for Sequin and was really integrated into our programming, our work. We had attended some of the mental health workshops organized by various organizations, and was actually quite shocked to get the data on the huge gap in mental health resources for the Indian population. I think there's almost like an 80% resource gap. It's only a very small fraction of people who have access to mental health services. There are very few psychiatrists and, very, very less than adequate counselors. And mental health is a huge crisis in India. So, following that, it was a commitment on our part to integrate mental health awareness into our programming. So it's not that we've actually kind of become, cognizant of it now, but have been working towards it for a while. In terms of our football program, we actually look at the outcomes of our sports for empowerment interventions at 3 points, 5 points. 5 outcomes that we look at is, when a girl comes out to play, there are better educational outcomes. She does better in academics. She has better health. She has more effective decision making. She has increased mobility. and she has a wider social network. So these are the 5 things that we work towards. So in that, health is one major outcome that we work towards. And the way we as an organization look at health is actually understanding of it is as well-being, a holistic approach to health, physical and mental health together, and with a focus on health-seeking behaviors. So that's how we approach our health programming. And so it's something that we've been working on for a while, but I think at this point of time, in the context of the pandemic, it has become more kind of relevant and more obvious than ever before how important it is to have a holistic approach to health. Because if you look at the coronavirus itself, the way it attacks people, all that you can do really is to ensure that you're in your best possible mental, physical health space. That's pretty much it. What else can you do? Of course, now with the vaccine, you can protect a little bit better. So this understanding that you give people that focus on health-seeking behaviors in a holistic manner to make sure that you're mentally and physically fit so that you have your best protection to any kind of crisis that you may have. So that's an approach that Sequin has had. And I think during the pandemic, it's become more relevant than ever before. And I think we're reiterating these through our online workshops that we're having with our football players.
Thanks, Laura. Thank you for sharing that. And I mean, that the gap, and for all of us who are here, and we're from different generations, different places in India, just to understand that mental well-being is a subject in itself. There are various support systems, programs around mental well-being, and the fact that there's an 80% gap for India and how we're looking at mental well-being. I mean, right now, more than ever in a pandemic, is a great opportunity to think about each of us as individuals, as youth, as adults, as coaches, as players, how we think more about mental well-being for ourselves and those around us. And how about Gulafsha PK? So, what is the pandemic so far? And we're still in this pandemic together. But what has the pandemic taught you further or differently about mental well-being? And how are you considering mental well-being in Dreaming in Islam and Foot in Boot?
For us, it was like, okay.
Yeah, that's fine. You go ahead.
Okay. So for us as Dreaming in a Slum, so it is like this pandemic was an eye-opening for us because our most of the program is on field. But due to pandemic, we are not working on field. It's all like it's lockdown and everything. So we were not able to understand how to run our project or how to run our program. But then during this pandemic, we have learned a lot, like uh, how you can think about learning something new also, because regarding mental well-being, it's like we personally take care of everything. Like when a girl comes for a session, as she is a teenager, she has 100 of tension, like she has to handle her house also, she has to do all the work also, and she has to play also. No matter her priority is to play sports, but she has to handle the different things also. So we make sure when a kid is coming to us or kid is with us, we make sure the kid is mentally and physically fit. If she is not fit both, then it's not good for her, because physical fitness you can see, if it's not well you can give proper medicine or something, but mentally you can't see. So there's no proper medication to do that. But we make sure we do counseling, we talk to the girls like what is happening in your life, and we make sure from our part that a girl should be mentally healthy and physically fit.
Yeah, Gulafsha, and how you started, and just to be vulnerable and say that actually what has happened during the pandemic is a surprise. It's something that is maybe something new. That Dreaming in Islam is considering and working as an organization, as a system. Yeah, that's really beautiful to hear. Just that this is new for us. Maybe we don't know, and yeah, thank you so much for that vulnerability. And I mean, we've seen it. The pandemic has also created an opportunity for all of us across sport for development organizations in our work, our social work, to reach out to each other and say, hey, how are you doing? How are you doing? How are you addressing what's happening, during the pandemic? And Gulabsha, your point also is that when we see that maybe mental health is affected, we're not able to, that's not visible. We're not able to see it. So that makes mental health and mental well-being all the more like important and interesting to talk about and keep in our everyday programming. Praveen, how about you? I mean, it's there have been different ways that mental well-being has been considered and put in boot before the pandemic. But how has the pandemic been? What has the pandemic taught you about your existing programming, the importance around mental well-being?
Well, I would say that the pandemic gave a reality check. Earlier, it was like people entangled in their daily schedule that they hardly got time to reflect and strategize how they want to go forward. But being in the pandemic, now everybody has to be in a certain place, and now being at a certain place and making your attention at a certain place that does not mean to you, that is a very challenging thing for majority of people. So we already had this yogic practices, meditation and yoga tools, which we were offering to the young children. And because of this pandemic, now they are within their houses, they don't have to go out. Now the practices were so regular of them, and they were able to devote time morning and evening, which helped them to create a distance between them and their thoughts, and which eventually led to situations wherein no matter what type of situations they are externally facing, being in a pleasant state always helps them to face with the best possible way they can. I'm not saying like everybody was able to do so, but yes, there were changes from what they were in a position before the pandemic and now.
Thanks, PK. PK, can you just share a little bit more? What do you mean? What do you mean by being in the present state, being present? And how does that connect to yoga, meditation as a practice?
So it's like when mental well-being, what I mean is like it's all, even if you go to a psychiatrist, they will try to talk you out of that. So essentially it is all about your chemistry within your body. So if there is something, a tool, a yoga or a meditation technique by which you can alter the chemistry within your body, and the chemistry within your body becomes very pleasant, so it will help you to look at the situation as the way it is. So you have, like, when you stand in front of a shelf, you have so many books out of there, and now it is up to you to pick one book out of the shelf. It's not like all the books are at your face. No, it's not like that. So being in a pleasant state help you to look at the situation as the way it is, and then uh, give your best according to that. I hope it makes sense.
Yeah, and I mean, for everyone here today, there are girls, youth, organizations. Let us all connect to each other and stay in touch. If there's any other questions, coaches, we can connect with Praveen. But no, thank you so much. And that point about being present and balancing ourselves in the present, so strong. And we wanted to, hear from each of you, Laura, Gulabsha, Praveen, on Leanne. She's a sports psychologist. She was with us in the summit. Shared some very interesting, life stories and also her professional experiences as she goes through her journey on in sports psychology, especially working with children and children who play sports. And the three topics that she specifically covered was self-care, self-talk, and self-image. So can you share something in your own life that you practice, whether that's self-care, whether it's self-talk, self-image, that you routinely practice in your own life and how does this positively benefit your mental well-being?
Yes. I like the way you've structured the questions because it really caused us, I think, to reflect a little bit, and it's really nice. So thanks for that, nicely crafted questions. Uh, before I just kind of share a little bit, I just do want to also flag that when we are talking about mental health, we also need to be responsible to know that while a large part of it is well-being and, healthy behaviors, but there is some amount of mental health where you need medical help. We should never deny that to ourselves, to be aware that a depression is a clinical issue. And so it's the same way as health. There are a whole lot of things you can do to promote good health, but when you're sick, please go to a doctor. So we have a tendency in India to undermine that and say, oh, the person's depressed because they're unhappy. But actually being unhappy, grieving for a loss is a very normal and a healthy way to deal with a problem. But depression is a clinical condition. So we really need to, all of us, be mindful of that. And there is no shame in going to a psychiatrist or a psychologist when we need help. We must, destigmatize that. It's just as when you have a fever, you have a problem, and you go to a regular doctor, we should have that openness. Having said that, of course, just like any physical health, a whole lot of things we do to promote our physical health. Similarly, the way we lead our lives also contributes to our mental health space. So I'm talking in that context. I just wanted to kind of qualify that. So in terms of my personal practices, and I love what Praveen said, and kind of taking off from there, one thing which has helped me particularly during the pandemic, especially because I've had personal losses. I lost my parents, I lost my aunts. So I've had a very difficult year. But what I have done during this period is I have practiced mindfulness, meditation practices through mindfulness. And it has really helped me personally. Understanding mindfulness is in many ways taking off of what you were saying about being present, really kind of being present in what we are doing at that point of time. And, a point over there about how multitasking is so overrated. It's just, you need to be doing what you're doing and sink into that. Be in touch with your sensories, smell, touch, all your vision, all of it, kind of soaking it in. So mindfulness is all about doing what you're doing in a meditative way. And that helps you to immerse yourself into a flow and to be able to do your best. That's a practice. It's almost like a yoga practice, and that's helped me. In little kind of to kind of go beyond that, for me, the way I categorize my well-being is really looking at physical well-being, mental well-being, emotional well-being, and spiritual well-being. And when I say spiritual, I'm not necessarily saying prayer. It could be at a philosophical plane. It could be to be in sync with your environment. But I think there are these 4 pockets of our mind which need nourishment. So at least at my level, in my personal space, I do actively seek nourishment of my, physical, emotional, spiritual, as well as intellectual kind of space, pockets of my mind. And the last thing, not last, whatever, the other third thing, which is something which I am mindful of, and I think that helps in finding a right kind of well-being, is finding a balance in your life. Balancing. So again, being mindful that what am I balancing? I'm balancing my me time, my family time, my professional time, and my social time. And all these things are equally important to me. Again, these separate pockets. And how I negotiate and ensure that I have allotted enough time for all these, I think, help me to keep my balance and keeps me well nourished in all aspects of my life. Thanks.
Thank you, Lauren. That was a really great summary of everything you shared. And I mean, one point that you brought up, and we were talking about Laura, Lavsha, Praveen, like what you personally practice in your life. But Laura, the point that you brought up, that it's all right to ask for help, whether that's help from a friend and talking to a friend, or if that's professional help, that's just fine and that's just okay. And how that plays a big role in how we take care of ourselves. Laura, thank you so much. And Gulafsha, PK, be great to hear from you on how you're, something that you practice routinely in your own life, whether it's around self-care, self-image, self-talk.
So the way I practice is so there are essentially two things. So it's not like I'm trying to get into a competition with me. Am I audible, Shannon?
Yeah, you're good right now.
Okay, so things that I practice is like it's essentially there are two things. First one is I and the rest of the world. So it's not like getting into a competition with the rest of the world, but it's like a union of all the things. So when I do a certain thing, I look at it and say, did I give my best? So essentially what I can do is just give my best. So if certain things not go as planned as I wanted, or it did not end up the way I wanted, or if somebody else had an influence of it, so my approach would be in that situation that the other person did what he knew best, rather than getting into a conflict or an argument. That's the best he or she knows in that given situation, and I go down to them and yeah, let's give my best the other time. So that's how I approach every situation.
Wow. Yeah, and I mean, for all of us here today, and when we think about what Praveen, also known as PK, has just shared, that Praveen, maybe in the way that you talk to yourself is that, hey, I know that I've given my best, and maybe others who are around me, who I'm interacting with, has given their best, and that's the best we can do. Yeah, PK, thank you so much. And Gulabsha, how about you? In this stage in your life, what do you routinely practice when looking at your own mental well-being?
Uh, I practice my daily routine is like I do self-talk like in the morning and in the night before I sleep and when I get up. I do self-talk and I try to find positivity in small thing. Like I'm not like thinking telling to go and find positivity outside, but it is really important to find the positivity or try to build the positivity inside your body. Like I have like in my free time I try to read books, like try to read any book you feel like, try to read or listen to positive stories and motivational talk. So that gives me an energy. When I talk to someone I feel energized, so that if that energy I can give to that other person. So this is a small thing, and I also go for a 10 minutes walk, which gives me an energy to think about what is going wrong and what is going right in life at at this moment. So these are the small things which I practice every day.